Welcome to Wow with JR, a podcast designed to help motivate others to grow by integrating practical skills, leadership principles, and teaching elements of the wilderness into our everyday lives. Now, for your host, Junior Humphrey.
Hey everybody, welcome back to today's podcast. Just want to take a moment and let you know that we have a guest speaker today. So today is a really cool day. We also are trying out this new feature on our podcast platform that allows you to call in and do a podcast over, per se, the phone. And but this podcast here was previously recorded, so it's not live. But this was a way for us to test it out and try to work out all the kinks. And moving forward, hopefully we will have some live calls. Most will probably be pre-recorded. But I will warn you about the audio on this particular one. It's a little low on my part. But moving forward, the audio will get better. But before we dive in, if we can take a quick moment just to give a shout out to our sponsor, then we'll get right to the podcast. Hey, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again today on our podcast. Just wanted to say thank you for your support and your buy-in to our mission and our vision here. It means a lot to us. Today, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking on the front end because we have a special guest, and I'm going to let him introduce himself here in just a moment. But I do want to say, if you don't already follow us on Instagram, YouTube, or any podcast platform other than this one, please just check us out, look us out. Everything is at Wild or at Wilderness ILD. That is our social media tag. And that will, if you type that in on any platform, if we're on there, it'll pop up. But with that said, we mentioned that we're going to start introducing some of our staff members. And this staff member here is very dear to me, a really close friend of mine. And you'll find out why here very soon. But without further ado, I'm going to let him introduce himself. The floor is yours.
Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Brandon Cowart. I'm one of the co-founders here at Wild. And in case some of y'all don't know, one reason I'm near and dear to Junior's heart is because I've known him my whole life, literally. He's my cousin.
That's awesome. Yep.
Yeah, so
Cast out of the bag.
Yeah, so from a very early age, me and him have been running around getting in trouble. So I mean, it's been good times growing up, and I appreciate him bringing me on to the podcast. He's been doing a great job with them. I've been listening to him, and I'm always, I don't want to say anxious, but always waiting for the next one to come up each week. You might have to start doing 2 a week so I can hear you more.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, hey, Brandon, I'm excited that you're on here today. If you would, just take a little bit, a few moments, or however long you need, and just kind of tell us a little bit about you. What makes Brandon tick? What makes you who you are? Maybe some checkpoints in life of where you are now and how you got there. Just whatever you feel like sharing. We just really want to get the listeners to get to know you because the hopes are that you'll be on a whole lot more podcasts in the future. So if we can go ahead and just share with them who you are on the front end, then moving forward, we won't have to do that every time. So floor is yours. Just tell us about you. Who's Brandon and what makes you tick?
Yeah, absolutely. No, where do I start? I mean, I guess start here. I was born at a really early age, ripe age of 0, and from there it's just been just been learning, moving through life like everybody else. Kind of me. I've always been kind of that goofy kid. I like making everybody laugh, as I'm sure you'll hear. Kind of been dubbed the king of dad jokes, and I'm not even a dad. So I guess I'm just preparing for the future. But first and foremost, I mean, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I mean, everything I do, I try to serve Him and just live my life the best I can to Scripture. And I mean, we all fail. We all fall short of the glory of God, and that's one reason why we just need Jesus in our life. And if anybody follows me on Instagram, it's right there in your face as well. It's just the fact of I'm very passionate about Jesus in the wilderness. And I love serving people. I love helping people. And I'm not going to say that I'm the smartest man in the world or anything like that, but I believe that any knowledge that I have isn't for me, it's to be passed on to other people.
That's good.
And I think the best analogy of that is kind of like a pond. And if your brain's kind of like a pond of just information, any pond that just sits still and stagnant, it's just nasty, it's no good, and nobody wants to hang out around it. But you've always got to have a fresh flow of water that's coming in. But if you do that, it's going to flood everything. So you've got to have a healthy outlet as well. So there's constantly information that's flowing in and flowing out, and it's never meant to be held on to. So really passionate about just teaching anything that I do know. I had a little kid one day say, I know at least one thing about everything. And I was like, I can relate to that.
Yep.
But yeah, so married. I've got several little fur babies. No actual kids of my own yet. I've been married to a beautiful woman with a great heart and love for Christ as well. We've been married for 4 years now, going on 5 at the end of this year in October. Let's see here. I've been kind of.
Hey, Brent,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt. Um, at, just for the listeners, as everybody knows, we're very personal and very just raw and uncut here. Um, real quickly, how did you meet your wife, and how did you know that you wanted to marry her? Just throw that out
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, um, everybody looks at dating in different ways, and the way that I've always looked at dating is the whole point of dating is to find out what characteristics you like and what you don't like in a
there.
future spouse. And
Very
for
good.
me, I found out really early those characteristics that I wanted. So I became very picky in who I would date. Um, and some people call it like building a list or whatever. I don't really like the way that that sounds because you kind of get closed-minded or waiting for the perfect person. And there's no such thing as the perfect person. And if there was, they definitely want to go for someone like me, an
Or me.
imperfect person. Um, so yeah, so I dated and figured out the characteristics that I wanted in my wife, and really struggled. We're from a very small town in Georgia, so there was a very small candidate pool there. So in order to branch out, I actually went online, and me and my wife met online through Christian Mingle. If anybody's listening and want to throw out some sponsorships, christianmingle.com. Don't know what the
Yeah.
jingle is, but anyways, hurts to try. As far as sponsorships, not dating. Um, yeah, so we actually met online, and I kind of surprised she didn't lose hope in me because we talked through the website for probably a month or two before I ever got like her Facebook page. And then like we talked on Facebook for probably another month before I even asked her about her phone number. Um, and then we started talking on the phone and all that kind of stuff. But it was a very slow process of me getting to know her and just seeing if she had all the characteristics that I was looking for. And then she even introduced some characteristics that I didn't know that I wanted in a wife, but was grateful that she's had them. And yeah, I guess saying goes, the rest is history from there.
That's awesome. Well, you gave me a I'm not going to take the floor right yet, but you gave me a little topic I'd love to revisit here in a little while. It's
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
working hard for what you want. So
Yeah,
we'll just keep that
absolutely.
in mind and on the table. But yeah, man, keep rolling. Sorry I interrupted you.
No, not at all. I mean, and that same thought process of working hard for what you got, I mean, that applies to every area of your life. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's nice. I mean, that can be counted as a little success principle. And cool thing about success principles is it applies to every area of success. So a
Yep.
successful marriage, you can take principles from that and apply it to a business or any other relationship or whatever the case you may be doing because success principles are universal. So that's pretty neat. But yeah, so married. Currently, we live in South Carolina, just in the Greenville area. I work full time on the fire department. Been volunteering at the fire department since 2011. Um, Definitely a huge, huge passion in my life. Just getting the ability to serve other people.
That's good.
Yeah, and then part of that when I was serving, volunteering, volunteered for 7 years before I got on full time. But while I was volunteering, it really introduced me into disaster relief, and I think that's one cool thing about Junior and I is kind of how our passions have combined with wild. We haven't really gotten much into the development of wild and where it came from, so I'm not going to hit too much on that at this point in time. Maybe another day we can go on that. But just the disaster relief and being out just in the raw weather, which is very fulfilling to me, being able to go out and help people in the worst moments of their life and be able to shine a little bit of light of hope. It really drives me and my view of like public safety and pouring out to people. It's very satisfying to me. So I love the career field that I'm in. Before it, I was also working full time on the ambulance. So kind of both sides of it. I got the fire and rescue side, but then also got the medical and learning the human body and all that kind of stuff, which is, I could talk about that for ages.
Yeah, we have a lot of that in the background, listeners.
Yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, man, I mean, that's pretty much who I am. Love anything that's outside, love camping, hiking. You've really been getting me into doing some more rock climbing and all that kind of stuff, and it's just a blast. I love rappelling. I mean, anything outside, I pretty much love. That's probably from the way that we were raised. We created too much racket for them to keep us inside, so they always shoved us out the doors and said, "Go outside, have fun, do something, just get away."
Yeah, and then served us lunch and sometimes dinner outside too.
Yeah, we'd be out playing, and you just hear the little ding, ding, ding.
Yep.
That
That's no. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying that bell at Papa Rickson's house. They would
Yep.
ring it. You can hear that thing for miles.
Yeah, the whole neighborhood would perk up when they heard it. But dude, that's awesome. And guys, let me tell y'all, if there are any of you out there listening that is looking for an honorable, noble, dedicated friend, Brandon is that. Not only are we
Appreciate
family,
that.
but he is, yeah, man, yeah, he is a friend. He's been with me through thick and thin, and I'll share a little bit more later on about some of my stuff. As we start introducing each person, you'll hear different parts of my life and my involvement with them. But everybody has a past, and Brandon was one of those people in my past that helped keep me grounded and stable. And I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful for his buy-in here at Wild. But he was mentioning his heart for disaster relief. Brandon, would you mind just kind of diving into that a little bit and sharing with the listeners your heart, because that is something that we are integrating in with Wild, and something that we want to do and see evolve and grow as a service or a community outreach that we do, and not just local to one area, but wherever our staff members are living and located. We want to be able to reach out in those areas and say, hey, we have a team that's here to help with this. But Brandon really has that vision and has had that vision of the disaster relief side of it. So, man, I'd love for you to talk about that and your heart, and just kind of what gears are turning in your mind, and just kind of some vision and cast vision about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just back up just a little bit and throw this little plug out. It's like some people may wonder, like, well, why the fire department? What got you into the fire department? And honestly, man, it was you. I don't know if you remember when we lived at the house in the Liberty Estates and you moved in with us, and you were on the fire department, and you let me put on your turnout gear and all that kind of stuff. I was 16 at the moment, and that started the countdown for me. I have a picture.
Awesome.
Yeah, I have a picture where I was in your turnout gear, standing in front of an American flag that was draped up over the garage door or whatever. And
I remember that.
Yeah, so I had that as my profile picture on Facebook for a while, and it was always just a countdown. 2 more years. I got 18 months, 1 year left, and just really just my passion started from you. I've always looked up to you, and you really drove me that path into the fire department, because up until then, my plan was going into the military. Fire department, I have less people shooting at me, so that's always great.
Dude,
But
I admire you too, and I'm glad I could be a role model for you. Thank you.
yeah, no, I appreciate it. But yeah, so for the storm though, there's two big instances that's really kind of solidified it for me. And one is with one of your dogs. At that same house, you got a dog. I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Baby. But we were putting up a
No, it was
pen
Biscuit.
outside.
It was the
Was it
dog
Biscuit?
Biscuit. Yep, that was Biscuit at that house. Yep.
Yeah. So we were putting up a fence, and we were out there all day long, sweating like dogs, and that storm come rolling in. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but we're sitting there, and I'm like, man, it's getting dark. You're like, we gotta get this fence done. Okay. So we get going, and we're stretching fence and all that. And this storm got bad. I mean, it was like 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts. I mean, you could barely see 15 feet in front of you, just standing still, and it's thunder and lightning all over the place. And we're just out there in it, like
Yep.
finishing it up. I mean,
Yeah,
we
we
were
had to
like,
go.
we had like 5 minutes left to finish up, and the storm came in. Um, but it was just so awesome because, like, growing up, my dad always had me watch storms, and it always terrified me. But for some reason, being in that area with you, putting up that fence when that storm came in, it was just peaceful. Like, I knew of everything that potentially could happen if you're out in a thunderstorm with metal tools putting up an aluminum fence.
Yep.
Not the smartest idea, and we do not recommend it. But there's just something about it. It was just like, hey, this is absolute chaos, but we still got great progress moving on this fence. And it's like all the world can be falling around about you, but if you're focused on something, and for me, it's Christ in my life and bad things, but it's like if you're focused on something, you just have this peace. And I don't know what it is, but it just drives you to get complete. So that was one thing that really kind of, some sense, desensitized me to storms and made them kind of fascinating to me. So fast forward several years on the fire department, and I think it was 2012. There's a bad storm system that came across America. It produced like over 200 something tornadoes,
Yeah, the
and
one that
one
came
came.
through Alabama and then hit us.
Yep.
Yep.
So that tornado, I was on the fire department when it came through, and um, have a passion for weather, so I was watching it all day long. Knew it was coming, and then was getting everything ready. And I think the storm came in at like 11 o'clock that night. Tornado came through our county, split us in half. And I have to make the times up because I don't remember, but it came through at like 11, at like 11:15 or 11:20. Me and my brother Josh, we were out um, serving the community. We were
Mm-hmm.
running fire calls, um, down power lines, down tree lines. Then we got call of a neighborhood that got hit. So we went over and started searching through rubble and all that kind of stuff, and was able to participate in helping a gentleman out of his house. Um, and he survived and everything like that. Went off to the hospital, but that really solidified for me what my passion was. Like just being out there in that storm, able to help people who were literally hurt and injured and in the worst moment of their life, being able to step in and be like, I got you. Here's my hand. Let's get you some help. Let's move through. But that's really what birthed this passion in my life of doing this disaster relief. And
That's awesome.
for me, um, I've always dreamed of it as kind of a ministry thing. So what that's kind of looked like in my vision was being like a storm chaser, essentially. And instead of trying to get up and close and personal with the tornado or whatever, I wanted to hang back a little bit. So that way, when a town got hit, I instantly had a team that could come in, start opening up the roadway so emergency personnel could get through, have people that were trained that could partner with the local public safety. And hey, here's how we set up a command post. Here's how we schedule, not schedule, but how we organize teams and go out and make sure that nobody gets missed and no area doesn't get searched. So just having a team that could come in and help out with that, because when that tornado came through our hometown, it was absolute chaos for about 45 minutes, just absolute chaos.
Mm.
And then we had one man that I really respect, Douglas Matthews. He was working
Yeah.
full time on the fire department I volunteered on. He's going to be the first one that gets his hands into anything dirty. Like, he just loves going out and playing. But he showed great leadership and said, "Hey, dispatch, give me all the fire calls and EMS calls. I'll dispatch them." And he went and he sat down at their headquarters with a map of the entire county. And he started organizing, and he was marking which roads were closed. He marked where calls were at. He marked where his personnel were at. So he had this overview of the entire county and what was going on in it. And just for him to be able to say, "Hey, I would love to be out there running chainsaws, pulling people out of houses, but what is needed is for someone to sit here and run command and have everything organized." After he did that, boom, 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 roads opening, calls got taken care of. Um, Victims were extricated out of rubble and transported by EMS. Roads were cleared so EMS and fire trucks can get through. I mean, it changed everything. So for me, it showed the need for that structure to be in place in every incident. So we'd like to have a team that could go in and do that if one wasn't set up, or maybe it's delayed, because one of the things was we slowly got more and more volunteers coming in, but they had to go check on their mom first. They had to go check on their brother first, or whatever the case may be, which, hey, go check on your family first. Make sure that they're safe.
Yeah.
After that, you can serve your community. I knew that my family was safe because we weren't in the path. So I was able to get out and go ahead and start helping out. But anytime your hometown gets hit, there's always that worried about your family. So if my team could come in and start setting up while everybody's checking on their family, that would get that process rolling quicker. But
Yeah.
that's always been my vision. And then one thing that I've always heard on the ministry aspect is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm. That's good.
But on top of that, the best way to meet someone's spiritual need is to meet their physical need first. It
That's
tears
good.
down so many walls when you meet somebody's physical need and they can see how much you actually care about them. It opens up an opportunity for you to share the love of Christ with them. And of course, take care of the physical needs, take care of the medical needs, all that kind of stuff. But instead of just coming in and snatching them out of houses, sending them to the hospital and being gone, we wanted to bridge a gap between when the incidents happen to when one of these large scale corporations come in, like Samaritan's Purse or FEMA or American Red Cross, because a lot of times those are 24 to 48 hours later.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a long time for a local community to be having to take care of themselves that's injured, waiting for help to arrive. So if we could come in and kind of bridge that gap, then that would be a huge, huge benefit to that community. And that's kind of where my passion has been. And not saying that all of that is going to be incorporated in Wild, but we're kind of pulling some of those aspects in and planning to see how it could be utilized as well.
Yeah, bro, and I support it. And for everyone listening, for first I just want to say, Brandon, thank you for coming on today. We're
Yeah,
definitely
absolutely.
not
Thanks for having
done,
me,
but
man.
I needed to stop and tell you thank you. But for everybody listening, like I've told you in past couple podcasts, like we're a family here, so now decisions are made by the family. Um, the and you'll hear how there's tons of other visions that are building Wild. The Wild itself, kind of the thread line was the vision that God put on my heart, and that's what I've been carrying out. And now, as we introduce staff, and you hear the other avenues of things coming in, the other specialties and trainings and all that stuff that everyone else has, you'll see how when you go to our website and you see everything on there, then you'll know, hey, that's why that's there, because I hear the heart behind it now. And I love, Brandon, that that your passion and your vision, even if it was totally left field from Wild, still being a part, because
Yeah.
our heart here at Wild is just to add value to people, leave a legacy and add value to people. So by adding value to people, or by meeting needs, you're adding value to people. By
Yeah.
going out and helping the community, you're adding value to that community. And
Absolutely.
to what Brandon was saying, I remember when that storm happened myself. I was out on the other side um, of the county. I was cutting trees on the main roads for the ambulances to get through. And at the point that I went out, it was still, like you said, dark and power had went out. So I was waiting in between lightning flashes to cut from where my headlights couldn't see. But we were trying to go ahead of the ambulances, places we knew that the ambulances were trying to get to, and it was a mess. But
Yeah.
like you
I think
said, oh, go ahead.
no, I was saying I think I wound up being awake for like 48 hours straight. I think I was working straight for like 36 hours. I mean, it was
Hmm.
exhausting, but the only time that I was tired is after that 36 hours when I sat down and like 10 minutes I was out. But
Yeah, and
I
so with that, how did you feel other than the tiredness? What were you feeling mentally and emotionally in that downtime of kind of digressing after the event?
mean, after the initial of going out and serving and doing all of that, like I could see that there was so much more that needed to be done. Yeah, we got the roads clear, ambulances can go through, fire trucks can go through, but there was still so much that the community still needed. Um, just from, hey, everybody's fine, the house is fine, but I've got 30 oak trees down on my property that are keeping me from getting to my barn or keeping me from being able to feed my cattle or whatever the case may be. So there's just more needs, and not trying to sound all holy and all this kind of stuff, but man, I just felt like there was more that I needed to do. That's kind of been one of my struggles just growing up, is like realizing that, like, hey, you have done enough. You don't have to do everything. Because
That
that,
is absolutely correct. Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy to overcommit yourself, to get burned out on everything. I mean, you've got to stop, take care of yourself, take care of your family, relax some. But man, when I see people hurting, it's hard. Um, so
Hmm.
yeah, we're sitting there. I'm like, all right, Chief, what else you need me to do? He's like, we're good. I'm like, no, what else you need me to do? We good. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of speaks to your life in the EMS and on the fire department too. There's at times, unfortunately, only so much you can do.
yeah,
And even you, when you hit a physical peak like after that call, it's crazy that you brought that up, because recognizing your limits is huge, and that's the benefit of having a team around you. That's the reason I am so excited to see where Wild is growing and going,
yeah,
because I realized I couldn't do it on my own. So I was like, who are people that I trust and I know that not only have my back, because that is important, but I know will have other people's best interest at heart if I'm not present.
yeah,
And so the staff we have now, we chose each other. I want you guys to know I didn't choose them. We all chose each other
yeah,
a long time ago. And but that's how it's easy to call on them and say, hey, this is the heart and the vision. Would you want to buy into this?
yeah,
And and I'm thankful that Brandon is one of those people that did. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else. So he hasn't told you guys this, but he is a master navigator. He is incredible with a map and compass, just incredible with direction, observation skills, stuff like that, and just recognizing the correct way to go. And I think, um, and Brandon, you may be able to attest to this a little bit, but I think it's because as a believer, you know you always have a an end goal in sight.
Mhm.
And no matter what or how crazy it gets around you, you got to focus on that end goal. And um, I think that's not only help us navigate through life, but it's also on a how do I say it, a carnal side. on a worldly side with the navigation thing, I think that's something Brandon's good at, saying, "Hey, there's our goal, there's our checkpoint," and then he can quickly read and dissect and decipher how to get there. So
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of what I've been learning here lately is I got a few personal things that I'm kind of interested in that I've been studying, and part of that is just filling yourself with knowledge. And like that's kind of been one of the big difference between me and you is we'll have conversations about stuff, and you're like, "Man, let's go," and I'm like, "Yeah, let's go," but we need to do X, Y, Z first because if not, ABC could occur when we're out there, and that would be bad. And you're like, "Yeah, that's a good point. We'll go do that really quick, and then let's go." I'm like, "Okay." So like I've always been one to kind of plan ahead a little bit, but I don't know. I'm kind of just in this oxymoron, if you want to call it, because like planning is very important in my life, and I always want to make sure that before I make a big decision that I have all the information, and then I'll make the step into it, and then like plans never go the way that I thought they were.
oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm the only one, um, or if y'all experience it as well. But it's like, all right, I'm gonna wake up in the morning. I'm gonna make me a nice. I'm gonna cook me a nice breakfast. I'm gonna read my Bible. I'm gonna read this book on whatever topic to make me better, and then I'm gonna go and start my day. And then instead of setting your alarm, you typed it into your calculator, and you wake up late because your alarm never went off.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you're just like, oh no. And then it just throws everything off. And then you're rushing. You're like, well, I can't do this. I can't do that. And it just throws your whole day off. And it's like, today is trash because nothing went according to plan. Um, Very frustrating when that happens. But for me, I don't know why. I thank God for this. Like, I don't stress about things. And I can't really explain it until you just really said what you said a few minutes ago. It's like knowing the end goal.
Hmm.
And and one of the things that I've been learning, the dude says it's all about the process, not the reward at the end of it. So sometimes you can look at something as a failure because it didn't go as planned, but how did the process go? Was the process successful? Like, all right, man, I woke up late. Okay, well that means that I can't do X, Y, Z. All right, let me jump right back in. All right, let me get a nice drive to the work. Not gonna be rushing. Oh man, I'm already late for work. Hey boss, just letting you know I'm gonna be late. Woke up late. I'm on my way. I'll be there shortly. All right, yeah, no problem. Now I'm not rushing to get there. Now I can take my time. I can stop and grab me something to eat so I'm not starving all day long. My boss already knows I'm late. He already knows what's happening. Hey, my GPS says I'm gonna be there in about 30 minutes or so. He's got a time frame. That takes stress off of me to having to rush to get there. And my plans didn't go right, but let me have a good process for my day to continue moving on. Because I can't tell you how many times a plan has not
Hmm.
gone right for me. It's like almost every single plan that I've made looks completely different.
Yeah, no doubt.
But
And
uh, go ahead.
no, I was just I was gonna kind of take us down a trail with something you said, but go ahead and finish your thought.
No, I'm pretty much there. It's just like you said. Like for me as a believer, I know my end goal is heaven. I know the
Hmm.
process through my life is going to be muddy sometimes, and it's kind of like what I said earlier about that storm. It's like there can be absolute chaos around you, but what are you focused on? And like you said, as believers, we know the end goal. We know what Scripture tells us, and we got to believe that. And for me, that helps me out a lot with my stress because I mean, in my younger days, I've done some stupid stuff, and I've put God in some tight situations. Well, I think that I put God in tight situations. Um, and he's just always proven to be faithful, even in the days when I was not being faithful to him. He was always faithful to me. And it's like, if we can think back on all of our successes, if you're not a believer, think of when all of these times that were chaos, how many times did those ruin your life? How many times were you successful through those? Those moments when you couldn't find any way out and yet you still came through it on top? Maybe not as high up as you thought, but for those in Christ, how many times have we been like, Lord, you just need to find a way because I don't see any way? And he's like, cool, thanks for giving me the reins back. Now let me guide your life in the way that it needs to go. So, an example. When I turned 20, I had an opportunity to move out on my own with some friends. They were a married couple, really close friends of mine. And when I moved in with them, they were in a one-bedroom apartment. So I had a little pallet in the living room that I was living in for a couple of months. And one day I come home and they've been fighting and all that kind of stuff, and just was very uncomfortable in the situation that I was put in. So I was like, you know what? Let me just try to push the situation off to the side. I'm heading down in Georgia to see family tomorrow. So let me just survive this night and then I can figure something out. So I'm driving down the road the next day and I was like, hey, a buddy of mine has a house. I wonder if he has a spare room. I have no idea. So it's a guy that I went to church with. So I called him up and said, hey, man, don't know your situation, but I want to run something by you. He's like, yeah, what's up? I said, I'm looking for a place, trying to get out of where I'm at now and kind of explain the situation. I said, I don't know if you have a spare room, but if you do you think I could rent it for X amount of dollars? He goes, yeah, that's fine. I said, well, pray about it first, see if it works. He goes, God laid on my heart 2 weeks ago that I needed to either give you this room or another one of my friends this room. And I've been praying about it for 2 weeks already. So yeah, that's fine. Come on. So
That's awesome.
so before I even knew that I needed a new place to live, God was already working on my behalf for a new place to live. So it's like I got story after story after story like this. So it's like, hey, I don't have to worry about where I'm going to live anymore. I'm not going to have to worry about where gas money is going to come from because I know God's going to take care of me. If I don't have gas money to get there, God doesn't want me to be there. But if God wants me to be somewhere, He's going to provide a way for me to be there. So it's just think back on your life and every time that God has been faithful. And it gives you so much power to look at the chaos in your life and you're like, God's got this. He's done it when He did this for me. He did it again when He did this for me. And then again when He did this for me. So it's like those tiny successes, those tiny accomplishments, those tiny victories that God's given us give you so much power to keep you focused on the end goal. And it just makes everything else seem so small. But,
Dude, you're absolutely right. I have people tell me all the time that just the journeys and the doors God has opened for me and the things I've been able to be a part of and experience that I should write a book. And I might one day write a
yeah.
book. I don't know.
I mean,
But
I could write it for you from my point of view.
well, maybe we'll throw some excerpts in there and we'll like I don't know, we'll figure it out. That'd be cool.
I'm going to put this plug out there for you because you're too humble to say it for yourself. But if anybody wants to see what God can do in your life if you remain faithful to Him, just look at Junior's life. Sit down and listen
amen to that.
Sit down and listen to Junior's story one day, and oh my goodness, dude! I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. There's just like you're saying, the doors that have been open for you because you said, God, here I am. Use me however you want me. Man.
Very much. And that takes back to that see he's working right now. It takes us back to that little thought that we had in the beginning of work hard for what you want.
Yeah.
And scripture tells us God's already got everything planned out. But
yeah,
He wants us to be happy. And I had it explained to me this way one time and I had someone ask, do you think God wants you to be happy? I was like, this is a trick question or something? Like, no, like genuinely answer the question. What do you think? I was like, yes, in some sense, and in some sense, I still think this is a trick question. And the guy's like, well, think about this. You're a dad. How does it make you feel when your daughter walks in and brings you something that she painted or that she drew with her own hands? That makes you very proud. I'm like, yeah, that's a feeling like no other. He said, that's how God feels when you're happy about something. When He knows you're passionate about something and you like, God, thank you for this. This is awesome. And you get excited about it. You
Yeah.
bless him. You
That's
can
awesome.
bless God. Just the way your daughter blesses you with that excitement of what she made, you can bless him by enjoying what he created, what he's done for you. And I've just kept that in my brain and roll with that. So I'm like, all right, God, I'm giving you all my big dreams that are way too big that I think will never be achieved without you. And I'm going to get excited every step of the way. And I have. And that's exactly what we've been doing. And that's where Wild is growing today. Man, I could
Yeah.
sit and we'll get into this and we'll tell about some doors that are opening up very soon actually for Wild and some
Very
things are going to
nice.
start happening and to where we can start operating. We're not necessarily looking at being a business, like Brandon said. We want to be a service.
Yeah.
Um, but in the process of a service, there's things on the back end like gear and training and stuff like that that's got to be done. So, but we'll get into all the logistics about all that. But going back to work hard for what you want, I think about a few things Brandon said when he was Brandon is a gauge. He is a great gauge. When he says that he's like, "Hey, Junior, stop for a minute, think about it." He has done that. I mean, I remember one little snippet. We were hiking the AT. I talked about this in the past podcast, but he's like, "Hey, you got to stop, man." It's like, I know you're tired. I'm tired. You're just stubborn. So stop. Let me lead. And so I had to let him lead and set the pace because I'm very hard headed and I was just wanting to get us done, but I wasn't thinking, hey, I'm exerting all my energy, all his energy. It's just not going to be good when we get to our checkpoint. So it was good having that gauge. So in the midst of working hard for what you want, know your limits, work within those limits, know your team around you, utilize that team, know your team's strengths and weaknesses. And I mean, look at the military. The military is a great example of all of this.
Yep.
And I know that's kind of I know that's a little bit of Brandon's heart and some of our other staff members too. Is we all love the military, and thank you for all who are listening that serve. If you don't serve and have someone that does serve, from our heart to yours, thank you so much for your service. We
Yes,
admire
absolutely.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we admire your platform, and then we we love you and want to support you 100%. But bringing this back full circle, working hard for what you want, that's Brandon's where he's at today too. 'Cause God's done some crazy things in his life,
Yeah.
and as all of our listeners know, we're not going to like shove the Bible down your throat. That's not who we are. But we're also not going to shy away from sharing what God's done in
Yeah.
our lives because this podcast wouldn't be possible without it. So,
Right.
um, like I said, we're not going to shove it down your throat, but you need to hear that any success story has a starting point, and our starting point just happens to be our title conversion. So,
Yep.
but um, but yeah, do you have any other thoughts, Brendan, or anything else you want to share?
I guess I'll leave one more thing. It popped into my mind while you were talking, and this is a little bit more specific for our listeners that are believers in Christ. Because there for a while, I struggled really bad on what God wanted me to do. And this is going to be a random little nugget. Doesn't really tie into everything else that we were talking about per se, but um, because outside of high school, like I knew that God had given me three passions in my life. One was first responder disaster relief. One was teaching, and another one was North American missions. And I really struggled on which avenue to take because disaster relief, that was the fire department. Uh, Teaching, that was going to be like some kind of youth ministry or college ministry or something like that. And then the North American missions is like, well, how can I go out and serve as many people as I possibly can because that's my heart. And there was like 3 or 4 years that I didn't do anything because like I was really struggling with this, like, what do I need to do? And I heard a preacher tell me this one time, and it helped me out so much. He says, Brandon, you know the Lord is a shepherd and we're his sheep, right? I'm like, yeah, I know this. I've been in Sunday school. It's cliche. What's your point? He's like, well, the shepherd leads the sheep to the fields that he wants them to eat. I'm like, yeah. And I just kind of looked at him. He's like, all right, you still don't get it. He goes, does the shepherd tell the sheep specifically where to eat? No. He says, that's right. As long as those sheep are in the field, they're in the shepherd's will. I said, so
Mm.
you're telling me that as long as I am serving Christ and that I am making his name known and that I am loving people, I can do anything that I want to and be in the Father's will? He's like, yep. I said, so I haven't been waiting on God to tell me what to do. I've just not been doing anything. He's like, absolutely. I was like,
Mm.
okay, thank you. Because I know a lot of people struggle with not knowing what to do. And it's like, just love people.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, I never went to law school, so I'm not qualified to judge anybody. Um, so that's definitely not on my forte. Um, and I haven't walked your life in your shoes, so I can't have any insight into what you're doing right or wrong. All I'm supposed to do is just love you and let you know that Jesus loves you as well. And for all of our believers who don't listen, I hope you hear that. Just like Junior was saying, like, I'm not here to preach to you or shove the Bible down the throat or say, hey, you have to be a Christian in order to receive any of our services. No, that would be totally missing the mark. And that's not what we're about at all. But we love you and we just want to serve you in any way that we can in order for you to be successful in your life, so you to become a better leader, whether it's at a business or a friend group or just within your family. We're here for you no matter what. Um, we're just here to serve you.
Oh, no, I support that. And that is good. And that when we talk about introducing ourselves and who we are, that is a part of Brandon's introduction, is telling you who he is as a believer. And just like you guys have heard a little bit of my story in past podcasts about the same thing. And so doing these introductions, you'll hear it. But rest assured, if you come to our class, if you're not a believer, you're not going to be judged. If you request a service, you're not going to be judged. We are, like you said, we're here to serve. We're here to love you. We're here to help you. And if you know us in person, my goodness, if you get a chance to hang out with us, please do, because you'll be like, these guys are cool. And I'm not tooting our horns. We're laid back. We're chill. Brandon and several others in my life have helped me chill down a whole lot. I used to be wild and rambunctious, but now I'm level headed. I'm calm, slow to anger, like totally different person. I give first and foremost the glory to God for helping me in that and grow me in leadership, but the people around me too. And I really, Brendan, I really do appreciate you being on this podcast, this introduction, because it's helping to hear, for the listeners to hear more of our heart and more of who we are as a family here at Wild. And with that, what made you want to buy in and be a part of this? I know we've talked a lot about the different things in here, but what made you want to be a part of Wild and say, hey, yeah, I want to partner everything I have with that to grow it and help make it, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, kind of like I said, it matched with a lot of my passions. Um, so I mean, Wild is still in the development stage overall, so there's a lot of avenues that we have not even explored yet. There's still some lesson plans and some curriculum that we have not even written yet.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a lot of work to do. And we're excited to have y'all along for the journey, just to hear the growth. I think 5-10 years, it'll be really cool to go back and listen to these podcasts and be like, man, we had no idea where we were going to be at when we were talking about this stuff. But that
Yeah, no
aside,
doubt.
I mean, there's just so many avenues. Like when you came to me, I mean, just look at the name, wilderness, anything outdoors. I absolutely love it. Leadership, wilderness integrated leadership. I mean, hello, I like teaching.
Yep.
Is that not leadership?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, there's a lot of different avenues to teaching and all that kind of stuff. But man, I just really love teaching, whether it's helping out at the fire station with The rookies that are coming through. Right now, the rookie that's underneath me, he's going through EMT school. So sitting down and helping him with that, man, just seeing him grow in his knowledge is just so fulfilling to me. And it's like, I have an opportunity to do that with more than just the people that come through the fire station. It's like, this gives me an opportunity to share my knowledge with other people because, again, I don't want to be that stagnant pond. I need that information to be able to flow out because that's not for me. That's been given to me for other people. Um, but dude, me and you work so good together. Like, I don't think there's ever been anything that we have done that I've not just absolutely enjoyed doing it. Um, yeah, we butt heads at times, but that's just
That's
two different
healthy.
personalities. Absolutely. Because you see things that I don't see. And it may irritate me because it takes away from what I'm wanting to do. Again, my plan that never goes according to plan. But you're like, dude, you don't see that cliff that's right over there. Oh, you're right. That would be a much better cliff to rappel down versus this 20-footer over here that I've already got everything set up on. It's like, yeah, it can be frustrating, but dude, you just take it to a whole new level. And it's like, nice. But it's the personalities, it's the perspectives of different things. It's just, dude, just sitting down and dreaming about wild with you is just so energetic. And it gets me so excited because there's so many
Awesome.
opportunities for me to get to serve people. And for me, that's truly where my satisfaction comes from in life is to serve people. If if I couldn't do firefighting anymore and serve the community, I'd find somewhere else where I could go serve. If I couldn't do that, I'd find somewhere else. It's like if you ever wanted to just kill my soul, take away my ability to serve, and somehow I'd find some way to serve people.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, that's my passion. And Wild is just a corporation of all of my passions and like my dream since high school of doing the storm relief. And now that's been, geez, dude, that's been going on 13 years since I graduated. So it's been a passion in my life for so long. And here's an opportunity for that to actually come true. Um, it's just so exciting. It's very easy to, like you say, just buy into it. Um, but that's kind of what you said earlier as well, is like you didn't go out and recruit people. It's almost like we all had a piece of a jigsaw puzzle. You're like, hey, let's see if these fit. And it's like, boom, perfect picture.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, I think of you and a couple of our other staff members, just the times that I've spent with y'all individually or times that we've all spent together, um, and just the stuff we dreamed about back then and just ideas we had. Hey, this would be cool if we could do that, this, that. And
Yeah,
it's just that like-mindedness and everything. And you know, just for the listeners, right now, like you said, everything's in developmental stages. There are some classes that will open up soon, um, and but there's still a lot of classes and stuff that and services that we still have to get nailed down. Um, and it's going to take time, but that's okay. Every business grows, and they add stuff, they take stuff away. But right now, our staff members are not paid. Anything that we're doing for or through Wild for the community, for the people, you guys listening, that money goes right back in the pot for Wild. I
yeah,
don't want you guys to think we're trying to get rich overnight here. Even with our social media, I
yeah,
mean, yeah, the followers would be incredible on YouTube and Instagram because yeah, it would help start funding some things. But if you look at our platforms, they're nothing special. We're trying to gain followers more than we are the finances because even if we sit in the woods with a notepad and explain to people everything we've learned and say just write it down, we're still doing exactly what we're wanting to do as if we would have had 100 people in a well-designed class.
yeah,
Our goal is just to share knowledge and add value to people and serve people. So even if it never goes farther than it is right now, we can still do what our hearts are desiring to do because God's equipped us and set us up so well to just do that. That I have people I mentor personally. I have people I go hike and hang out with, and I teach them stuff all the time. It's kind of like if off the record, if you would say off the books, but Somebody wants to know how to build a shelter, I'll teach them. I'm not a guru, but I do know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
And, and that's the thing. We're not trying to be better than anyone else either in any of our services. There's a ton of disaster relief stuff out there. There's a ton of wilderness certifications and training out there. There's thousands of these different avenues of everything, survival, bushcraft, and there are some incredible people out there. Go check them out. We just know that that is something we're passionate about, so we want to get in that circle too and say, hey, there are a lot of great people out there that do it, but we want to be one of those great people that also serve the community and do it as well. So
Yeah.
that's where we are.
And another thing, just adding on to that, is there are, just like you said, tons of people that do similar things all over the place. But for us, one of the reasons that we're deciding to do this is if you look around in our region, there's not much of this going on in our region. There may be some people nearby that do like YouTube videos and stuff like that, but it's like we're in the southern east states, southeast states. This region isn't
Hmm.
really big for survival instructors. I know we've looked at some classes and stuff like that, and it's like, man, I got to go all the way out into Wyoming or Utah or whatever in order to get some of these classes. And it's like, if we can bring that here so it's more available for people, not that we can do it any better than anybody else, but just bringing that availability down to this region. It's just another passion of ours. I mean,
Yeah, and with that said too, I want you guys to also know that um, we're not just making up this stuff and saying, hey, we're going to teach it. Anything that we teach or train or share knowledge on, we have personally been through. We've put in the hours, we have put in the time, the heartache, the sweat, the tears, the long nights, the you name it. We have been through it. So if we're teaching you how to improvise a I don't know, a splint or a tourniquet in the wilderness, it's because we've been trained and done it and those kind of things.
yeah,
If we teach you how to, oh man, I'm lost and my watch just died. Now all I got's a map and a compass, and I got to get back to the trailhead. We've got lost before, you know.
yeah,
So we have experience in these things. We're not just making up stuff that sounds cool, and that's what I want you guys to hear about the leadership principles and the because we're gonna come speak too. We want to be inspirational speakers, if that's how you say it. We want to come share our journeys with people, and especially in the leadership world, business or school, whatever it may be. And we're going to use that platform too to just say, hey, look, I think back to John Maxwell, and I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag too much for him, but he'll tell you this. He always says it in when he speaks on this. He says, I have four things to talk about. Three of them I can tell you on the stage. One of them you have to come find me off stage. And that's his business model. But the one you find off stage is the only way the three on stage are successful. And that's kind of how we are. Hey, we want to teach you how to bandage that broken shin in the wilderness if somebody breaks it or fractures whatever. But guess what? We're also going to pray over that bad boy while we're out there.
yeah,
You know, and that's kind of the route we're going. Again, we're not going to throw it on you. Just know that that's who we are. Um, but this has been an incredible podcast, and really, Brandon, I'd love to get back on here and just dissect some topics with you, and until we get everyone else um, available. So right now, just so you guys know, our staff is spread all over the states. We have some in Las Vegas, we have some here, we have some North Georgia, South Georgia. Um, you guys are
South
in South
Carolina.
Carolina. Yeah, so
Yeah,
we're all over the place right now. And some of the other speakers that are great friends of mine, influential leaders and stuff like that, they're all over the states. So, but that's cool because Wild is designed to be a network. So if Brendan says, "Hey, Junior, I need help teaching this, blah blah blah," here, all right, we're gonna recruit and we're gonna go to Brandon or vice versa. Um, but the benefit of technology too, we're going to incorporate some of that the best we can. Um, into it as well to help out. But yeah, so we're here to reach and serve all over. Please, please, please reach out to us if you have questions, if you are struggling with anything. Um, the last podcast we had, I mentioned that you are important, you are heard, and you are um, valued. We mean that. Like we are not high pedestal people. We're just
No.
everyday average people wanting to make a difference. So let us make a difference. Let us serve you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I can be a little scatterbrained at times, and I've talked about a lot of different stuff, but you got questions about anything, shoot us some messages. If there's something that you're dealing with in life, that you just kind of want us to talk to us about, or whatever the case may be, reach out to us, and somebody will get back to you. Um, Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, wherever you do your social media. Ask questions. If there's some topics that you want to hear us talk about,
Mm,
throw those out there as well. Because again, like, we're here to serve y'all, and if you've got topics that you're interested in, we're here to serve you in those, even through the podcast. Um, so shoot us those topics, shoot us those questions. We'd love to hear from y'all, and just see what's going on in your life. And like you're saying, we're approachable. We're not sitting up here on some pedestals looking down and saying, hey, we're successful and this is how you do it because you're not successful and we are. It's like, no, we're average Joes.
living day to day, paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, paycheck to paycheck. Some of us working two jobs. Some of us are going to school. Some of us are doing all kinds of stuff, just like y'all are. So, um, yeah, reach out to us. We're here for y'all.
Yeah, and if you look on our Instagram and even our YouTube, I have YouTube pulled up here. I'm glad you kind of segued into that because kind of bringing this thing to a close. Yeah, please let us know. We have people, there's some things you can vote on YouTube, and we have people voting for some how to do videos and some class and training. This
Nice.
can be um, anything that we offer currently or are going to offer, or something you say, hey, I've been looking for a class in this, and I would love if you guys could help figure this out. Well, maybe it's something that we can kind of build our resume, go get trained in, and then come back and train as well. So we're not opposed to
Absolutely.
that kind of stuff. Do that. Tell us what content you want to hear on the podcast. If it's more how to do's, if it's more guest speakers, if it's more just direct topics or breaking a few things down, send us that stuff in, and we want to hear from you. So we're going to take these YouTube votes, and I've had a few votes on Instagram as well. We're going to take all those into consideration and start building off of those. But moving forward, I thank y'all for just kind of being with me. I've been a little scatterbrained. I had someone call me out, and this is another thing, and Brandon knows this about myself, and Brandon's good about this as well. Um, when someone brings something to our attention, we don't take it lightly. We respect it and we honor that. So I have it has seemed I've been a little off my game in the past few podcasts, and I will admit I have been a little bit. I've been trying to get back in the groove because I started it, had a huge gap for a few years, and now I'm getting it back up, and just want to make sure I'm serving the right content. But I feel today was incredible and great. And moving forward, we want to honor that and say, hey, I apologize. We have been a little scattered and off track, but here we are. We're going to start moving forward with some good topics um, and going from there. So, Brandon, do you have anything on closing?
No, man, I think you're saying it pretty good. I just want to say thank you for letting me come on and speak, and definitely excited for the next opportunity I have to come on and talk, um, and spend time with you. So again, thank you, Junior.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. And there may be some podcasts in the future too, because especially right now, I'm in school. Like you said, I'm in school. I'm working. I have a home and a child, those kind of things. So there may be times I might say, "Hey, man, topic's yours. This is what's requested," or "Hey, what's on your heart?" And so you may just hear from Brandon one day. Who knows? We'll go from there. But But yeah, thank y'all so much for listening. Thank you for being a part. Thank you for allowing us to share who we are and how we got there with you. Looking forward to bringing on some more people. Thank you, Brandon, for being a huge part of not only Wild and this podcast, but my life as a cousin and a friend and a brother. And until next time, everybody, stay true, stay wild.
You've been listening to Wild with JR. Join us next time for more insight and encouragement to help you live out your full leadership potential.